mission has already been established. It's just a successful democracy within Iraq.
No. This is. You can't just say, "Gee, we gotta win," because there's a lot. It's a lot more complicated than that. Now we're in this. We're still
It's
in
a
this
lot more
war.
nuanced than that. I know.
Of course it is. But you can't just say this is. It's total bullshit when you say, "Gee, well, you know what? The only way to get out of this is to win." You know what? That's just simplistic BS, man.
No. Because the cost of not winning. Let's look at the cost of not winning.
How about the cost of not winning? Perhaps
The cost of not winning is a demoralized military for one, because now those 4,000 plus combat deaths will have been in vain. Let me back up. Those 4,000 combat deaths are more likely in vain.
Why is it in vain? If it's none of
Because it's
them
all for naught. It's all for naught.
No.
What were they fighting for? What did the administration tell them they were
Saddam
fighting
Hussein
for?
to get Saddam Hussein
No,
out. He's already out.
They were
could have
fighting
left.
for a democratic and free Iraq, and that's what we were told, and that's what the American servicemen are fighting for.
So it's all in vain if you don't have that in the exact
If
way
that
you want.
mission fails, that's mission failure, and those in the military know what mission failure means, and the morale of that impact. McCain knows, and that's my point. He's been in the military. He's been in an unpopular conflict, and when the mission fails, morale deteriorates, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah, well,
you can argue
morale-
about the justification of the mission. That's a fine argument to make, but the reality is, and this is just reality. If the U.S. pulled out prematurely, they didn't do the surge, we left, and Iraq turned into a disaster. Okay, the military would have suffered a morale, not catastrophe, but the morale of the military would have been set back quite a bit.
Okay, do you think the morale of the military would have been helped by the idea that if we had pulled out of Iraq earlier, then maybe we could actually be able to threaten Iran with something? Maybe we wouldn't be in this position with Iran where our hands are tied. We're like sitting like this going, "You guys don't do that. Don't do that. That's not cool. You can't threaten Israel like that." But
No.
guess what? We can't do anything.
No, because I'll tell you this.
It's too nuanced.
No. If the military pulled out and Iraq deteriorated into civil war, I guarantee you the military would not be in a hurry to go into Iran.
What if Iraq didn't deteriorate into civil war and it just kind of kept slogging along with its attempt at democracy and there wasn't some serious, huge civil war thing going on?
That would have been great, but if that was realistic, then I think that our timetable to withdrawal would have been much more early. Or much earlier.
It's impossible to predict what could have happened, and it could have happened either way.
I agree, but the point is, and McCain understands this, and I completely stand by the statement, that if we pulled out prematurely, morale in the military would have been drastically affected for the negative. For the worse.
So let's take that for what it for I'll assume that's correct, and because I have no real reason to not.
I mean, but I can speak for myself. I would have been demoralized.
Okay, and I'm not.
And I think I'm not going to speak for my fellow servicemen, but that was the impression that I got from people I talked to.
But does that outweigh the entire geopolitical situation?
No, and I'm glad we transitioned to this, because the military morale was one aspect. Okay. The other aspects of it are our national image. Okay. By pulling out, we are saying that we will not, because it's not politically popular, stay until the job's done.
I would say it's not because it's politically popular. I would say because if we had pulled out, we would have pulled out because we would have realized that it's not the right mission.
Even if you say that, the message that you send primarily to Al-Qaeda and to other terrorist networks is that we cannot see through the job. We cannot see the job completely.
That's assuming that we were fighting Al-Qaeda. Dude, if we were wanting to fight Al-Qaeda, we would have gone we would have put more influence in Afghanistan. We would have gone into Pakistan and developed a relationship with the Pakistani government to where we could fight Al-Qaeda there. If we really cared about fighting Al-Qaeda.
They came to us. Al-Qaeda came to us in Iraq.
Yeah.
Which, you know
But that
what?
doesn't mean
We got the country. Come find us. Come fight us. It's on our own terms.
This goes back
You
to
know
this-
what? It does go back to the war, but
I-
the nature. You know where they are in Afghanistan? They're in the mountains,
Yeah, of
8,000
course,
to
where they've always
10,000 feet.
been.
Do you know how hard it is for the U.S. military to operate in 8,000 to 10,000 feet of mountainous terrain? It's not easy.
just as hard as it was for the Russian military.
Yes, but you know how much easier it is to operate in 200 to 2,000 foot desert in Iraq and engage them on the open battlefield? Much easier. Much easier.
Okay.
Strategically, them coming to us in Iraq, bring it on. I would say that today. Come find us in Iraq, please. Because I don't want to go fight you in the mountains of Afghanistan.
But the part that you're missing there is, sure, I'm not gonna, great. It was easier to fight them in Iraq, but the point was they were already in Afghanistan, and you know what they
they
did?
were all over the world.
Sure, but they were centered in Afghanistan. That was the first place we should have gone, and should have
But
stayed
they were
there.
very decentralized. You can't defeat them. You can't defeat a decentralized organization by going to attack the symbolic figure.
Agreed. So you don't use up all of your political goodwill in the entire world by going into a country that the rest of the world says you're
I'll
doing
argue
the
that-
wrong thing.
I'll argue that in combating terrorism, in finding Al Qaeda, we have given up no goodwill. Every country
Bull.
in Europe,
That is total bull.
every country in Europe is still actively looking for Al Qaeda. Every
And how many
country,
are helping
every
us in
democratic. It doesn't matter. Okay, what matters is if they're fighting terrorism in Al Qaeda.
Dude,
That's the global war.
what matters is if we are working together to fight terrorism and Al Qaeda.
And we are, because you know what? They're looking for Al Qaeda, and we're looking for Al Qaeda.
totally
How
separately.
many arrests have there been? Yes, separately in the sense that, in the sovereign nation of Germany, they don't need our help to find Al Qaeda within their own borders. In the sovereign nation of France, same. In Britain, same. But they are actively looking for Al Qaeda.
Only because they have their own interests in mind.
Certainly, their own interests are in mind.
But the point is, we should have developed a freaking world coalition to go after Al Qaeda from the
that
beginning.
exists right now.
I would argue that it does not.
What nation is not going
That
after
George
Al Qaeda?
Bush has pissed off the entire world.
He
by
may have pissed
going
him
on
off.
his own cowboy missions.
He may have pissed them off into Iraq, but what country is not looking for Al Qaeda?
I don't know the answer to that, Joel. That's
The point is that they're all looking, not all of them, but the majority of democracies are looking for Al Qaeda and looking for terrorist cells within their own country.
But did they communicate? No, not that I know of. I've never heard of any of this.
I don't know.
They don't communicate. The point is that you cannot defeat a decentralized organization by being one country. By being one country, you can't defeat it by going into one country. You can't say we're going into Iraq to fight terrorism. No, you're going into Iraq to establish,
That
to
wasn't
remove
so.
Saddam Hussein, to supposedly find weapons of mass destruction, to supposedly create a democratic government. But you know what? You're not going in there to fight terrorism.
And
It happened to turn out that way, partially. But
It
the
happened-
real fight should have been against terrorism. Because that's what that's what was attacking us in 9/11. And that's what is our current threat. Iraq was never a threat to us. Period. I mean, that's where
the same thing.
It's just so fun.
We've talked about this a lot, but the point is like, okay, you want to just fight terrorism, and the challenge remains: what do you do with the countries that don't do that? And say, you know what? No, I'm not going to help you. What do you do?
Then you work with all the other countries. And you say, fine, let the terrorists live in your country, but guess what? We're going to work with everybody
Well,
else.
that's fine because they're making plot. Right?
Well, you know what? Depends on the country.